toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That's the start of a party, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, and we are on location this week.
Such good things.
Doing the show on location live at No Label Brewing, Katy, Texas.
Love this
with
place.
our good friend Tom Paynter from No Label. And Tom, welcome
good to be back with you
to
guys.
the show. Yes, it's always nice to have you on.
It's the third time for me.
So you're part of the Three Timers Club. That's a fairly exclusive group, you know.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, we don't invite you back if we don't like you.
Yeah, or at least like what you bring to the show.
Sure, yeah.
There's that. So
if you hit 10 times, you get a fire jacket.
that's absolutely right. Well, we are excited about being here today and already enjoying, because it's a warm Houston, Texas summer day today, and we're having a warm Houston, Texas summer. I can tell you that.
It's a warm summer, yes.
And so we're already enjoying one of the 1980 Kolsch beers that is probably, you guys, is this the lightest one on your entire lineup?
It's equally as light as our Gillies.
As the Gillies, okay, which is also a good and very enjoyable beer for the summer. So we're starting out here, although I'm sure because Ian does not discriminate against heavier and darker beers in the warm temperatures. So
that doesn't bother me.
Yeah, you've even
no, porters in the summer, porters in the winter. I'm fine with it.
That sounds like a song of some sort. Porters in the summer, porters in the winter.
Porters around dinner time.
He accepts all beers.
Yeah, that's right.
Equally.
Yeah, that's right. This is a very diverse show, and we believe in equality of beer. Although not all beers are created equal, in fairness.
That's for sure, but every style has a time and a place,
Yes,
I think.
absolutely. So we'll enjoy a number of styles today. And, Tom, it is so great to have you back on the show today.
It's great to be back.
We have a lot of things to talk about. There's news that has just come out that Scandinavian Tobacco Group, which is one of the larger tobacco companies, has acquired Room 101. Matt Booth's boutique cigar company has been sold to STG. So that's that's kind of big news in the cigar world. There's a new, and I'm really interested to talk about this story later and get your take on it, Tom. But NOLA Brewing, which is out of New Orleans, and they have a Houston satellite location. They are releasing their first AI-created craft beer. Yeah, I know. That was the face I made, too. I like NOLA.
Say what?
But this seems a little strange to me. So we'll delve into that and find out what that is all about. And I'll ask this as a question, Ian. Crab in your whiskey?
It wouldn't occur to me. No.
Yeah, well,
I don't know. I don't know what that means.
Apparently it's happening, which reminds me of an old joke that I heard many, many years ago. What's worse than a lobster on your piano?
Yeah.
Crabs on your organ. Okay.
I think you just dad joke.
Yeah, I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did. So anyway, we'll get into that. We'll talk about a lot of other things, cigars to watch for, and of course our famous or infamous segment on the program, Drinking News. Today's Drinking News teaser headline is the mic picking that up, you think? Is the mic picking that up? Oh, Doug says yes.
That's
okay.
right next to the mic.
Let's try it again.
All right.
You can do anything with Legos. All right, and we'll get to that as the program continues. So Tom Paynter, nice to be out here at your establishment. You guys have a very large outdoor area here that's part of your tap room, don't you?
Absolutely.
I mean, is this something that arrived by necessity, or did you just say, you know what, let's build it big and they will come?
The space was already here.
Yeah.
It was already large, and really it was there's a tap room that's right behind Ian, and then there's this space, and then other than that, that's all we really used. But then when COVID happened, because there's a giant lot out here that people can't see, but basically this was all kind of a free for all parking, or people bring like lawn chairs and set wherever.
Sure.
But then when COVID happened, it was like, oh, we better add some structure here and get some spaced out seating.
Right.
Since
So
we have this
you
space.
you got enough space. You were
Yeah.
able to space the tables apart, and people could come and not feel like they were, too socially undistanced
in everyone's space. And then we kind of decided we kind of liked it the way it was. It kind of added a little bit more, structure like to the space. And then
So we'll have to take some pictures and put them up in post. But, there's tons of picnic tables. I mean, how much seating do you have out here? It's tons of it. And then all of that's got some shade above it that you put up on posts. And that's pretty awesome.
we added the sun sails last year, which the sun is taking it's really beating them down this year.
no kidding.
And then of course we have a full size playground for the kiddos, because not only is No Label Brewery, we are actually also a babysitter of sorts. So like we'll have family movie nights. People bring their kids, and then their parents will just like go to town in the tap room.
Now I saw when we walked in, I saw the very cool slide structure with multiple slides that you have there in the kids' playground area, and I was just wondering, late in the evening on a Friday or Saturday, does that get used by a lot of adults who've been here enjoying the tap room for a while?
No, it mainly just remains the kids.
Oh,
Although
okay, good.
sometimes adults will lose track of their kids, and like kids will start trying to like explore like the storage containers and like, trying to, like or like they'll start leaving the property, and sometimes we have to go in the mics and be like, hey, there's some kids that are having a Stand By Me moment at the like on the railroad tracks maybe, and then these parents are like, oh no, well, we haven't lost a kid yet.
That's good to know.
This is good. I see you got a stage over here as well.
Live music stage. We have music Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Nice.
Sometimes on Sundays. All local bands typically, but or Texas bands, I should say.
Regional band.
So there's always something going on. The yard's pretty modular. We'll have during the weekends we'll have like 4 to 5 food trucks out here, and then we'll have a bunch of vendors, and we have a lot of local markets will come out, and people will set up their wares and stuff. And recently there's like this, we have a cigar vendor that comes out every Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
So, and also CBD seems to be showing up a lot more recently as well. So it's all the things and all the smells.
Speaking of cigars, this wasn't the cigar I intended to smoke for the show, but Ian offered me a factory smoke as we were getting set up here before the show started, and I'm still working on it. This is really nice. Now, I reviewed a factory smoke from Drew Estate a couple of weeks ago on the show and really enjoyed it. This one is a little bit larger ring gauge, and I think may have a little bit more complexity. Very, very interesting.
A little more chocolatey to it, actually.
Yep, and it goes really nicely with the Kolsch. Now we're going to have to open up this Gilly's Texas Blonde Ale here in a moment, and we'll see how it goes with that.
Now,
so far with the 1980, it's rocking.
I ran sound at a friend of mine's event a while back. It was the Guy Clark tribute show, and you guys sent beer out to that.
Oh, you ran sound for that?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah. I'm very good friends with Matt Harlan, who did
Oh,
it
yeah.
I
love Matt. He's so awesome.
Yeah, and I heard that thing was just I heard it was a rager. I heard it was great.
Yeah, it was fantastic. But you guys had a table set up, and I drank much of the Gillies that evening.
It's just a very easy drinking beer. Now, tell us. You may have told us this story before, but see, this is what happens when you've been on the show a couple of times.
He gets it.
You totally get our fascination with homemade sound effects. Tell us again the story of how Gilly's beer with Gilly's name on it came about for you guys. What was the origin of this?
Oh my goodness! It's a tale as old as Texas. So Mickey Gilly, had the famous Gilly Saloon from Urban Cowboy, and
Out in Pasadena,
the largest honky tonk dance hall in the world. And at one point, he was having a beer. His own beer was being made by Shiner, actually. And those were the original makers of the Gilly's Ale, like with Shiner. But when the Pasadena Wonderland, as it were, burned down, that beer kind of burned down with it. And then for years, it just kind of nothing was.
That was a thing of the past.
Yeah,
See a can here and there.
Yeah, and then And then in the 2000s, or in I think it was around 2012 or so, the Gilly's estate kind of reached out to No Label, and we just slowly started talking about having a beer release in the tap room and stuff like that. And then when we took over 4 years ago or so, it was like, whatever happened with this Gilly's thing and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, well, we have like this partnership with them, but we haven't talked to those guys in a long time. I was like, well, we need to track these guys down.
Yeah.
Long story short, we're having these journeys out to Pasadena to like track down our contact information for like the Gilly's family, and it's like with this mysterious and trying to track down this old musician family, you know, with the Texas DNA all over them.
Right.
And eventually they find out that they're looking for us. Like we meet them up, and I was like, hey, you know, we need to take Gilly's out of the tap room and put it back into Texas. You know, how many ice houses and music halls do you
Would
go
serve
to,
Gilly's.
and you see those old cans, and you see the old signage, and I was like, we need to bring this back to Texas. And after doing this long, drunken speech about how Gilly's is part of the Texas DNA and music and all that stuff, so it was. And so starting and we did a big kickoff event in Galveston this past year with Mickey Gilly, may he rest in peace, in Galveston, where we kind of recreated the dance hall and everything, and then we launched Gilly's, and now we just can't make enough of it.
Wow. Yeah, it's so you mentioned not being able to make enough, and you told us before we got started on the show today that you guys are just making just as much beer as you can make right now. Is that a factor of demand for craft beer in general? Is it just how much No Label has really taken off in the past couple of years? Where do you think the demand is coming from that's got you guys cranking out more beer than ever?
I think craft beer is definitely more people are okay with it, right? Mm-hmm. And I think more people are seeing craft beer as just local beer. As beer that's made in your hometown by people you know, like within the community.
The local water, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know exactly who's making it. All the money is benefiting the community, going back into the community, you know. Like, we're definitely a Katy, Texas brewery. There's, you know. But then also, yeah, I think like things like Gilly's, I mean, people just want that beer. They just want that label. They want that can. But also, we are kind of on an award spree at the moment, which is good momentum for No Label.
So let's go ahead and go there.
Let's get that.
Your Cali Boy IPA.
Yeah.
Let's make sure I don't get the award wrong. It was a silver medal at the World Beer Cup?
Yes.
So I actually got that right.
Is awesome.
Dude, do you know how few beers ever get anything at the World Beer Cup? Not to mention a silver medal. I mean, that's incredible.
A silver medal in the Imperial IPA category. And also the World Beer Cup. It only happens every 2 years, but because of COVID, it hasn't happened in 4 years.
Right, because they canceled one. I remember that.
And so it's one of the most competitive categories.
Because every brewery makes an IPA, and almost every brewery makes an Imperial or a big IPA. I mean,
Imperial IPA. I mean, people are like, what's an Imperial? Just a high ABV IPA.
It's more.
Exactly.
It's a little more.
Yeah, some that you would see labeled as double IPAs, you could call those Imperials. Yeah. The ABV is high. It's just a higher ABV IPA. It's usually much hoppier.
Yeah.
And usually something that isn't going to appeal to the casual IPA drinker as much as the real IPA fan.
But IPA is definitely the crossover. It's like the first craft beer
the gateway beer.
Someone, a little bit. Yeah, like someone who was like, all right, I want to move past the blondes. I want to get into something a little bit more crafty, as it were. And the IPA is usually where they go, which is why it's one of the most competitive categories.
Right.
And it's also it was one of the last categories of the night, so it was one that we definitely thought we weren't going to win.
Oh, wow.
So were you actually there at the ceremony?
We were there. It was in Minneapolis, and we had 8 entries, I believe. And so we had burned through 7 of them, and we were like, okay, well, that's a wrap on that. Like we're having, it's going to be a good night. Let's get some sleep. Let's go back to Houston. They hit the last category. It was like bronze 2, yada yada yada. And I was like, well, it's done, guys. Okay, let's go. Silver, no label.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of those where you're like, like when they say at the Grammys or the Oscars or whatever. Well, I really did not expect to win, but you really did not expect to win.
We did not. No,
Yeah.
we were all pretty hungover from the night before too, and I'll tell you, the only thing that can really defeat a hangover is winning a World Beer Cup medal.
We
A
won.
little surge of adrenaline there. I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, people were crying. It was it was very like our head brewer Trailer, who's on paternity leave right now because he had his kid 1 week ago today.
And this was his creation, right? This particular
this is
IPA.
the first beer he made here.
Wow.
Yeah, because
he's from California, right? He's
He's
That's
from
why
San
it's
Diego.
California.
Yeah,
He came over here during the pandemic, and there's a someone on our Facebook was like, "Oh, you got someone from San Diego? Well, that guy's gonna melt away in the Texas heat." To which he was like, "San Diego was like 95 degrees when I left, but okay." But so it's him on the label, and it's him leaving California, and then his face is just melting away as he
headed for Texas.
as he enters Texas.
I love the artwork you guys have on the cans. It's so much fun. There's so much personality to it.
We have a bunch of local artists we use. That one was Shannon Parker. But yeah, we adorn our property with with the art.
Yeah,
because it's
and
all
that really works. Yeah.
it's all local artists, and I've got more local artists. Like I was in Columbus, Texas 2 weeks ago, and I was in a brewery there, and I ran into a local artist who's doing a bunch of stuff, and he's like, I would love to do a label or two for you guys. I was like, let's talk. I mean, really, is the price right? Because some artists will be like, I will do a label, $5,000. And I'm like, I wish I had $5,000.
How many cans of that beer would you have to sell just to pay for the artwork, right?
So,
Yeah. But for a company that's named No Label, you guys have some of the more colorful and interesting can labels of any brewery around.
So also in Minneapolis, they had the Craft Beer Marketing Awards there, which would have been the thing I would be talking about all summer if we hadn't won the World Beer Cup the very next night. But we actually won Best Beer Label in the World for Cali Boy.
That's
So the same
Awesome.
IPA that you won
Yes.
the silver medal in the
Yes.
Imperial IPA category, that same beer won for best label
label.
design.
Yeah.
Love it.
that's
I-
fantastic.
that is
I went to our head of sales. I was like, if you can't sell this beer,
right.
No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, it's just such a huge honor, and and this is not in any way meant to demean any other local breweries, but do we know of any other local breweries that have placed a silver or a gold at the World Beer Cup?
So only 2 other breweries got World Beer Cup medals in Houston. One is Valentin's, who we were actually sitting on the row with because we are the bestest of brewery friends, as it were. And the other one was True Anomaly outside downtown Houston.
True Anomaly, yeah.
So that's the only, and then the only other brewery outside of us ever in Houston would be St. Arnold. St. Arnold has a few.
Yeah.
They've also been around the longest.
Right.
Yeah.
But so.
But it still speaks to how rare of an honor this is.
Oh, it's wild. I mean, I was like all these guys from like Eureka and Spindle Tap and St. Arnold. All these guys were there at that event, and it's just kind of like I don't know. You don't expect to win. I mean, I don't know. It's rare.
Because it's so competitive.
and it gets bigger every year,
Yeah.
like or every 2 years, as it were. So it's. I mean, every brewery from around the world. You're in Hefeweizen categories fighting the Germans. I mean,
Right.
I mean, there's beers from Tokyo like that are winning awards, and it's just like everyone
Right.
is having this battle royale there, and it's pretty exciting, especially to be this small brewery from Katy, Texas, really punching above our weight for the most part.
How much camaraderie is there at something like that with the guys from the other breweries? I mean, do you intermingle and hang out? Do you kind of stay with your own guys? How does it go down?
I think most people from Houston stay with people from Houston and then Texas, but yeah, I mean, the craft beer in general, we're kind of one big happy family for the most part. I mean, I've said it a lot. I mean, I think the key to good management, ownership, and craft beer is to try try your best not to be a complete asshole to your staff because so many people in craft beer go around from brewery to brewery.
Sure.
No
Yeah.
one stays anywhere. We've had people leave and come back.
And we were talking about that even before the show about how there's been a little revolving door, so to speak, that has sent some people from one brewery to the other, brewmasters, other people that have kind of kicked back from one place to another, and there's always movement like that. So you're right. If you develop a really bad reputation as as being particularly large jerks, it's going to hurt you in your ability to have the people that you want to work for you come work for you.
Especially right now, it seems like most places are having a pretty hard time hiring people and yada yada yada. So
Well, it's interesting because as I'll just say it this way: as the country forgets that there's a pandemic, and people just are back out and doing things, we are seeing craft beer make a pretty strong comeback
Yeah.
from the days of lockdown, so to speak.
How far out is distribution for No Label right now? Are you
statewide.
Statewide. Gotcha.
Our main focus is definitely in the Houston and Greater Houston area, but we distribute all across the state. I mean, I just came back from a award festival in Fredericksburg, and we have some beer out there. We won a gold
Awesome.
for Cali Boy, of course.
Well, like you said, if you can't sell that beer now,
Right,
you're
right.
this is the award winner.
It's. I mean, it's certainly a great time for the brewery, but I tell people I have friends I'm involved with that we have part of a restaurant called Blood Brothers Barbecue, and we just went to the James Beard Awards, and which we were finalists, but we did not win. But they were like, "Oh, Tom."
Still, to be a finalist is pretty cool.
I was like, we'll get him next time. They're like, easy for you to say, Tom. You're winning all these awards. And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm far more used to being a loser than a winner. Trust me. Losing comes naturally. Winning is like, what?
Yeah, I get it. But it does seem like when you get that kind of recognition, does it make people? I mean, do people in general, customers who are standing in a Specs or at an HEB or wherever, does it make them more interested in trying your beer that wins the gold or a silver medal? Do they even know?
So we're actually gonna put it on the label to kind of make it
Smart.
Yeah, but I've had this conversation with a lot of people because there's a lot of breweries in town that have won awards and then they do a small spike and then it'll go away. I think it's for a brewery our size that's so small. I mean, I say small. We do 5,000 barrels. We distribute across the state. It's larger than most brew pubs, but we're still constantly trying to get people to look our direction. So we need those.
And there's a lot of competition for people's attention in the craft beer space.
Right. Yeah. So when we won that award, how many people noticed? But then Houston Chronicle puts out a thing about us having like the second best IPA in the world, but that definitely put us. People were like, "Hey, I saw your thing in the paper. I'm coming out to get some." Or Fox
It makes
26.
you a destination at that point.
Right, yeah. Then Fox 26 does a piece, and then we're talking about it right now.
Right.
I mean, it's the momentum train.
Yeah.
Sure. It makes sense. And by the way, as we said when you brought it on the show for the first time, it's a damn good IPA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just that it won an award, even though that should speak to the quality for itself. But I mean, it is a really tasty beverage. It is just absolutely delicious. And I'm an IPA guy, so I like to think I'm fairly discerning when it comes to IPAs, and I think it's terrific. But just in case I'm wrong, we should have some later on, and I should
Confirmed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we are going to take a break. Smoking and Toasting on location at No Label Brewing. We're in Katy, Texas, and it's a warm summer afternoon, but that's how we do it here in Houston.
It's downright balmy.
Yep, and we will be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are on location this week at No Label Brewing Company in Katy, Texas. Recent winners of the silver medal at the World Beer Cup,
Man,
as
that's
we
awesome.
discussed, and that's a huge thing. And Randy is here with us. Randy's the general manager here at No Label. Now, Randy, we can probably figure out what the general manager does, but tell us what is your like ongoing daily role? What do you do besides tell Tom what to do?
So basically, I run the day-to-day operations here at the brewery. I'm the glue that kind of tries to stick everybody together.
Right.
I liaise between departments, whether it's operations and tap room and management and ownership. So I do all of that.
You're the one everyone blames.
There's someone to blame. It's going to be me at the end of the day.
And did you come on during the, when Tom came on and the purchase was made of No Label? Is that when you got involved?
Tom and Garrett brought me on shortly after they came on board. We've known each other. We've been friends for a really long time, and we had always kind of talked about trying to find an opportunity where we could do something together. And we've always been passionate about craft beer and our love for the industry. And so this opportunity came around, and they wanted to see if I was interested, and I immediately jumped at it, because how often do you get to work with your best friends and not just work with them, but do something that you love to do and be a part of an industry as welcoming and as fun to be a part of.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Absolutely. What is the most difficult part of owning and operating a craft brewery? Is it finding a good brewmaster? Is it marketing? What part is the hardest?
I think to me the part that's the hardest is finding a way to maneuver those fastballs that come at you, whether it's equipment that breaks down on you, or someone that's gotten ill, or just any last minute curveball that gets thrown at you. It's always to me that's the most difficult part. There's talented people out there, and it is more difficult these days to find some good help and stuff like that. But I think we've been fortunate enough where we haven't had to wait too long to find the right pieces to our puzzle. And so to me, that as nerve-wracking as it can be to kind of find those right parts that you need to make everything function, I think it's the curveballs.
Have you noticed we
read
read a lot about how it's more difficult today to find employees than it was, say, a few years back? Have you noticed that in your
without a doubt
as well?
We're still looking for people to help.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, Ian and I may have some time available on our hands. So,
we pay in beer.
Getting to be involved. And
I already work for that, sir.
Yeah.
I've been a musician for years. I've made tens of dollars.
Yeah. But you've had some great beers.
But I've had great beers. Yes.
Well, and you guys do have great beer here. Congratulations on the silver medal. And we have the Cali Boy in front of us here.
Yes, sir.
So what will you guys do now that you've gotten the medal and more publicity? What will you do to try to make this beer more
global
ubiquitous?
recognition?
I want to see this showing up on restaurant menus and things like that. Like how I know all of that is a challenge, the whole distribution angle, but how do you go about that? You've got some real ammunition now. So what do you do?
I think what we do is make sure that we solidify this achievement in our backyard here in Katy and in the Houston market. Make sure that it's really strong, and everyone is fully aware of what we're capable of doing and producing out here in our small little brewery. And then once we've achieved that and made sure everybody's fully aware of what we're capable of doing, then we kind of branch out from there. We do distribute statewide, so making sure that all Texas gets to fall in love with this beer, just like everyone else seems to be doing so far. We want to make sure we do that, and then after Texas, that's when we start looking at other markets.
Obviously, Houston is going to be your best market because this is the area that you're from. But after Houston, where are you seeing the best adoption of your No Label beers?
So the Valley's a great market down in Rio Grande Valley. It's really thirsty down there. They really have a big appreciation for craft beer, and they haven't had as many breweries come down there. They're so far down south, away from Houston, San Antonio, from Austin. They don't get as much love as they should, and we've always seen that when we visit the area and we present them with what we have, They show lots of love. They show lots of support. So,
Nice.
that's always a good area to grow into. We have a great relationship in San Antonio. We have a new distributor now in the San Antonio area. So they're also a really good market for us that has always shown a lot of support in the past.
Right.
And we think they're going to love this Cali Boy. And we think that all the new beers we got lined up for 2023, I think they're really going to love as well.
Is there any of those that you can talk about, or are they still kind of on the drawing board and two secrets?
Still kind of on the drawing board. As we get a little bit closer, we might leak out a brew or two.
Right. All right. Well, if you need, one of the things that Ian and I always like to offer ourselves up as, is if you need anyone to do any of that, sort of taste testing along the way, and give you any feedback.
Yes.
We would be honored.
I think you
to
guys
be
are great
included in your
candidates.
taste test process.
I don't see that being a problem.
We hear about this with cigars when people are trying to find the right blend of cigars that they have a group of people they send out all these samples to, and everybody smokes the cigars and picks their favorite.
Yeah.
We would love to drink a lot of different beers and tell you which one's our favorite.
There you go. That's a good
we're
idea.
very good at finding favorites.
We'll send out a mixed 6-pack of some future concepts and see what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm really joking around, but I'm really not. So,
some jokes, some serious.
Yes, exactly. Let me ask you this: when I go to a restaurant and the beer menu is clearly under the thumbnail control of Anheuser-Busch.
Right.
Because it's,
you see that immediately.
It's all of the usual, Bud and Bud Light and Michelob Ultra, and then the only thing even remotely craft would be maybe some of the Carbach beers.
Oh, you've been to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh,
I see.
Yeah. 47 taps and one good beer. We hope you like Sam Adams.
It's actually kind of astounding.
Yeah. But whenever I go to those and I see that, I always talk to the waiter or the waitress and I say, will you please let your manager know that this is a very nice restaurant. I have a higher expectation for your beer list than this. And in our city, there are over 60 craft breweries in this area. A lot of great beer. Why would you not have one of those? Why allow Anheuser-Busch to control your beer list? You don't let one wine company control your wine list. Why would you do that? And what I'm wondering is, does that have any impact, or am I just, barking in the wind?
No, I think it does. The responsible bar managers and the people that really appreciate the patrons that they have, they really take that feedback into consideration. And sometimes their hands are a little bit tied behind their backs.
I understand.
If it's a corporate chain or something like that. But we are noticing that a lot of these places are slowly starting to get, they'll be given one or two taps that they can kind of rotate on their own. If it's something regional that they want to add onto their lineups, their management is slowly starting to get the ability to kind of incorporate that apart from what's required nationwide. I think a lot of these chains, they like to keep everything as uniform as possible, so they know that every state can have this certain beer out there. But they're also starting to notice that a lot of people prefer to support hyper-local.
To try local.
Right.
Yeah,
well,
they
some
want
of
to
the
do that,
restaurants,
so they're trying to, you're seeing that, some chains are loosening the reins a little bit.
I see what you're saying about chains, because if you have something that goes across state lines and is even across the country, that kind of thing, there are a lot of people who will go to a different city in a different state and go, oh, I'm going to go to this restaurant because I know it's going to be good.
Right.
That's a strange concept to me, because I want to explore.
Right.
I'm very much the opposite side. I want to try something completely different.
You go to a new city, a new town.
Exactly. But there are people who I guess their comfort level is, I want that same thing. But at the same time, if you can get those corporations to go, you know what, here's a section of our taps that are local beers, and you can still get all your other usual suspects.
Yeah.
well, some of these restaurants will, and I'm not talking about just chains or less expensive restaurants. Some of them are making a very big deal about how they they source their vegetables locally and it's farm to table. And yet when you go to the beer menu, it's all the national macro brews. It's like, come on, let's keep that same spirit alive in your beverage selection.
I agree. Absolutely.
And I just figure if I'm going to go out someplace and I'm going to drop, $100 or more for dinner for my wife and I.
Kind of how we met,
us
me
some
and Tom and
selection.
I, because so the restaurant group I worked for in Sugarland at the time, we were opening a craft beer and a burger concept, and my whole plan for that was for all the beer to be local.
That's so
hyper-local
cool.
craft beer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else in Sugarland was really doing that at the time, apart from Flying Saucer coming in at that about within that year that we were opening. Everyone else was still kind of behind on it, and my whole thing was we're getting everything locally sourced as much as possible. I want our whole beer lineup. Apart from I'm from New York, so I did have some Brooklyn on tap, but everything else was local.
There ain't nothing wrong with Brooklyn Brewery.
I was just enjoying some of their Bodega Run IPA the other day. A very nice little brew.
Nice.
So yeah, but yeah, I think that's important. I think it's what I'm trying to point out is that I'm the consumer you're targeting. If I can afford to come and buy dinner at your restaurant, then I'm the consumer you're targeting, and you're not reaching me with this part of the menu.
Right.
And that doesn't encourage me to come back, because there are other restaurants I go to where they do have good beer selections, and I'm more likely to want to go there if all other things are equal. So I'm just hoping that it ultimately gets back to someone who can do something about it.
I think it's slowly getting to that. Unfortunately, it's slower than we'd like it to be.
Yeah.
But we are seeing that in certain spots.
You guys, to get yourselves into those restaurants and into those bars, you guys actually have to get out there and hit the pavement, right? You have to go introduce yourselves. You have to get out there and try our beer. You have to pitch the beer. You have to do all that stuff. That's all the legwork. And I feel like some of those bigger places, especially, they go the lazy route where they literally just go, okay, what's on your truck? Okay, good. You've got all the bases covered. You've got an IPA.
You've got Hopadillo. Okay, IPA is covered. Okay, you've got whatever.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to trash Carbach, although I've been known to do that. But that's not really the point that I'm making. I mean, there's some good people over there. They make some beers that are wonderful. But my point is that, because they're part of the Anheuser-Busch machine,
right?
I feel like it's kind of like their influence goes a long way towards not creating situations where there's more diversity, where there's more. I mean, where the IPA slot on the menu is taken, so they don't have an opportunity to have the World Beer Cup Silver Medal IPA there. That would be awesome.
Speaking of which, look at this thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Please do. That's very impressive.
I'm going to pull this right up to the...
Yeah, please do, because that's a...
Tell me when I'm there, my friend.
So I noticed that Tom carried that over there. Where does that actually hang?
Right now, it's being safely kept in our office until...
That is a beautiful, beautiful
until we
thing.
Get a nice display for it that it deserves.
Well, if I were you, I would go out and get some replicas made of it so you can hang it all over the brewery.
We're already on it, buddy.
That's what I would do, yeah.
Immediately.
I have one in my house.
Okay, there you go. There you go. Yeah, like, you remember those gold records that they used to hand out to people for, like, sales of 1 million copies or whatever? Yeah, you can have one of those made for about $45.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, and then when people come over to your house, they can be very impressed with your influence in the music business. And this is the same for... it's the same for this. Only you guys did actually win this. So.
We did.
That's the really, really good part. Well, we are so proud to be from the community that you guys call home and that you have represented in this way. I mean, it's just such a huge deal. I got so excited when my wife forwarded me the article from the Houston Chronicle. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was jumping up and down. It was just very exciting, because when you're a part of the community, the way that you guys are, we do feel that kind of connection. We're proud too,
So that means a lot to hear something like that.
Also, you said you're from New York.
I'm originally from New York. Yeah, all my family's from Texas.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so do you notice like in Texas just how much Texans love Texas things?
Yes, absolutely.
That's got to help, right? A little bit.
And, there is a sense of, especially in New York City, there is a sense of some New York pride.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as a state, I don't think anybody comes close to Texas in terms of.
Chicago comes close to Texas.
Yeah.
The times that I've gone, I mean, they rep their flag like crazy. There's people that tattoo the Chicago flag like on themselves. They put it on every bit of merch that they can think of. So they come a close second, I think.
And there's people that will get like the Chicago Bears tattoos and stuff, but the team still sucks. So.
Bears.
So I know, but they were good at one time. At least they have had
Back in the day.
Didn't they do a
Back in the
Super
day.
Bowl shuffle?
They
Yeah,
did.
with the
They did.
the
Super
fridge.
Bowl shuffle. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
William Refrigerator Perry.
Yeah, he was the man.
But Texas does have a lot of love for
the state.
For the state, yeah.
And for things that are uniquely Texas, that are local, that are regional, that are part of the state. And I think that's, we were talking about earlier. There's over 60 craft breweries in the greater Houston area. Then you've got, I don't know what the number is for Austin, but it's a lot. San Antonio has really come on. I mean, this is a real craft brewing powerhouse state.
And you
people
guys
always
are-
think Oregon and other places, but I'm telling you, Texas is hanging in there with anybody.
And you guys are out here in Katy, but Katy, what started off as a little town outside of Houston has turned into just a massive city in its own right.
It's growing.
Huge.
It's growing
crazy
every
now.
year. It's expanding even bigger and bigger.
I mean,
my
you guys
wife and I,
are
we bought our house a couple of years back out here in Katy to be closer to the brewery.
literally located minutes off of one of the biggest freeways in
the world.
Yeah.
Isn't there a
That helps.
space where it's like 28 lanes across by the time you count
The feeder roads and
the feeder
everything?
roads and the HOVs and there's a space where it's just enormous. There's nothing else like it in the world. Well, thank you guys so much for representing the way you do and for making all of us proud, and thanks for making such great beer. I mean, it shouldn't go without saying that none of this happens unless you guys know how to put it in the cans and make it taste good and make it something that people are not only proud to see win awards, but are happy to drink too. It's
Right.
There's a lot of choice out there in the craft beer world, and you guys, I really feel like, especially since you guys have kind of taken over the brewery, that you have really put No Label on the map in a really cool and interesting kind of way.
Or the literal map.
The literal
The
map.
literal
yeah.
map.
Yeah.
I mean, a
Absolutely.
lot of that was, someone having an amazing vision and then finding the talent, to brew that vision. And, it's a whole team effort. We couldn't have gotten to this point. It takes a village for sure.
Yeah.
And, I think at the end of the day, I don't think anybody's as lucky as we are to have the team that we've built.
It may take a village to brew a great craft beer, but someone as simple as Ian or I can drink it. So that's our
takes one
take
one person to
one
drink
person
it.
to drink it. That's right. All right. Well, thank you so much for hanging with us, and please hang as long as you would like. We are going to take
Thanks
a
for
break,
having us.
and we
Appreciate
will
it.
be right back. I want to talk about the cigar that I lit in a moment, and you've lit another cigar too. Have
I
you
did. I've had this cigar many times,
All
and
right,
it's
so-
fantastic.
So we'll talk about that coming up. There's some cigar news on the way that we want to tell you about, including some interesting things to watch for. And we'll be tasting more from No Label in Katy as we do our show on location. It's Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back. Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 287. We are on location, and we're on location at the awesome grounds of No Label Brewing in Katy,
yeah, they got a
Texas.
great facility out here. It's
They
really,
really
nice.
do. They really do. And
They got-
Tom is going to bring us some more beers, although we're still working on the Cali Boy. And I mentioned that I was going to talk about my cigar. I picked this up today. I was in the Humidor at Specs. This is the La Galera, although I've had La Galera before. This is the box-pressed Toro, the 80th anniversary limited edition. I know I'm a long way from the camera with this, but it is a beautiful band and wrapper on the cigar. It is a Maduro, and so far this is smoking absolutely beautifully. What do you got going there, Ian?
Well, let me tell you about it. What I have is one of the Hoyo
Oh, the Hoya
Dark-
de Monterey, yes.
the Dark Sumatra, and it's the AJ Fernandez blend. And the Dark Sumatra from Hoyo has been one that it's been a staple in my cigar smoking since almost the beginning. As a matter of fact, back when Serious Cigars was Serious Cigars before they sold to Casa de Monte Cristo. They were in a different location, not too far from where they're at now, just
Yeah,
right around the corner.
Yeah.
But I went in there one time because for my brew club, we were having we have an event every year called Lounge Formal, and I wanted to bring a box of cigars in case people wanted cigars, and I walked in there and I kind of shopped around, and the Dark Sumatra was one that was recommended to me, and I hadn't had one. The gentleman there was like, well, if you got time, sit and smoke one. And he gave me the first cigar.
Nice.
And then I bought the box, and that's what we had at the Lounge Formal. And what an amazing cigar. It's been a staple of mine ever since. And now A.J. Fernandez has his fingers in it.
And it's got just a sort of a rich Maduro toastiness, as I recall from enjoying this cigar.
Very toasty, it's a stronger cigar than you'd think when you smoke it too. It comes in medium, but it smokes mild.
A lot of people think though that Maduros are stronger, and that's not necessarily the case.
And when you put a big word like Sumatra in front of it, it tends to make people think it's a little bit bigger. And like people think Connecticut's are all light cigars, but that's not
always
entirely
the case.
true either.
Especially the Connecticut broadleaf cigars. Can be very hefty.
They can be quite big. But this cigar has been a staple in it for years. If you know me, you've probably smoked one out of my humidor. And it's the construction on them is always second to none.
You can tell how wonderfully straight that's burned.
Yeah, the label on it looks awesome. I mean, it's just and they smoke a long time. They smoke an oddly long time for the size. So even though it's not a very big cigar, it does actually take a while to get through. It's going to be a 45-minute to an hour cigar easily for this size.
A few cigars to watch for. Drew Estate's Flying Pigs have been cleared for takeoff for their annual spring release. The Flying Pig is one of Drew Estate's most popular vitolas. It's a 100 millimeter by 60 ring gauge, and they are now available. They're based on a photograph in a 1985 Cigar Salesman's size selection catalog.
Really?
They're a unique size, and they've all got the signature pigtail that requires special training for rancheros and rollers at La Gran Fabrica Drew Estate in Esteli, Nicaragua. Only a few of their employees are certified to make these pigtails, so that's why these are always limited releases. But they are they're limited to 2 annual seasonal releases, one in the spring, one in the fall. There will be Kentucky Fire Cured, Undercrown Maduro, Undercrown Shade, and Undercrown Sun-Grown Flying Pigs, all available to all premium cigar retailers and to retailers who are participating in the Drew Diplomat Program partnership.
Now,
there'll be a Liga Privada number 9 and a Liga Privada T52.
I haven't seen the picture of that, but is that going to come in kind of like those short, fat quesadas that were in the 2016 Oktoberfest line?
Yes.
They're going to be short, fat with a pigtail kind of thing.
Well, and they're all in the size of 100 millimeter by 60. So they're all 60 ring gauge, and they're all pigtail caps. So and they're just the different blends.
For those of you having trouble with the 100 millimeter thing, it's about 25 millimeters per inch, so that's 4 inches by 60. So that is a short, fat cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. And in 2004, Rocky Patel Premium Cigars released a cigar you may have heard of called The Edge. It has become one of the best-selling premium cigars since its introduction. This year, the company appears ready to release the Edge 20th anniversary. They've been teasing it on social media. According to the Rocky Patel website, the Edge 20th anniversary will use a 10-year-old Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper over a blend of tobaccos from Honduras and Nicaragua. In videos uploaded to the company's Vimeo page, Rocky Patel indicates that the wrapper is based on the Sumatran wrapper that the country used for the original version of the Edge. There's been no details given about the size or pricing or when they will ship. But if you're trying to figure out the kind of confusing math behind the 20th anniversary, it seems likely that the 20th anniversary refers to when Rocky Patel started working on the project for the Edge and not when the actual cigar was released. Only adding to the confusion is that the A10 was launched in 2015 to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Edge. So it is a little confusing, but none of that is going to stop Rocky from putting out something that's going to be commemorated.
The A10 is a very cool-looking cigar as well, and it's a very good cigar. I've actually talked about that on the show before.
And Ian's buddy, Matt Booth, who just recently sold his Room 101 Cigar Company to Scandinavian Tobacco Group.
What's he going to do now?
He's celebrating. Well, I don't know. What do you think he's going to do now?
Well, that guy's got his hands in so many different things. Like as far as I know, he has like what's it called, like fashion accessory stuff and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So
Yeah, right.
He's going to do fine at whatever he does.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
that guy.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see him sell that company and start another cigar company.
That wouldn't surprise me too much either.
Yeah. He's celebrating 13 years in the cigar business, which, if you think about it, that's not a really long time. I mean, when you consider that some of the people in the cigar business have been in it for their entire life, and their family, their father before them, and their grandfather before them.
Yeah.
But Matt's celebrating his 13 years in the business with a limited edition smoke that will debut in July, along with the Big Payback Nicaragua, a regular production Nicaraguan offshoot of his core brand, the Big Payback.
I like the Big Payback.
The Room 101 13th anniversary is a 6x52 Toro that is going to come in pink boxes of 20 cigars. A Nicaraguan Puro. All the tobaccos were grown on farms owned by someone named A.J. Fernandez.
Who's that
Yeah,
guy?
he produced the 10th and 12th anniversary releases for Booth. And the factory, for the 11th anniversary was kept secret, but it very likely was AJ's as well.
Yeah.
Big Payback Nicaragua also consists of entirely Nicaraguan tobaccos and is made by Hoya de Nicaragua in Esteli, Nicaragua, where the Connecticut version of Big Payback is made. The Maduro version is made in Honduras. Expected to reach retailers by the end of the summer. That's the 13th anniversary. And the Big Payback Nicaragua is expected to arrive this fall. And finally, according to the Chinese Zodiac, this is not the year of the rat, it's the year of the tiger. The last year of the rat was in 2020, and the next one won't be until 2032. But Drew Estate does not feel like waiting that long, so this month they are bringing back the Liga Privada Unico Serie Year of the Rat cigar, which
great
first
cigar.
came out in 2016, was re-released in 2020 in accordance with the lunar calendar. Jonathan Drew says, with music, sometimes a new song comes out and you're like, yo, hit rewind. It's a testament to the proper beat, the lyrics, the completeness. Well, the same thing he says for Year of the Rat. So you can look for that to be coming out very soon from Drew Estate, the Year of the Rat 2022. So
Why didn't do a Year of the Tiger?
I don't know. I guess they just thought the Year of the Rat was was such a popular cigar they wanted to.
It does
hit
have
rewind.
a ring, right?
Yo, hit rewind, as Jonathan Drew says. All right, so those are some cigars to watch for. We like to keep you up to speed with what to expect, and we're going to keep you up to speed with more beers and talk a little bit more about these cigars. Plus, we'll get into something we like to call
Drinking news.
Drinking News coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting on location at No Label Brewery in Katy, Texas, which would be a great place to just come spend a Friday afternoon or evening. Come maybe throw a little birthday party. Come enjoy some live music.
You
on
said
the
Saturday
weekends.
they have like people show up to sell stuff all the time.
Almost every Saturday we have some sort of market here. We have 2 bands that play throughout the day. We have 4 to 5 food trucks and a variety of vendors. It's a guarantee every Saturday.
Why is food truck food so good? Like, what is it about it? Because, like, sometimes I'm at home and I go, I'm making a taco, but it's not like that taco I got at that food truck. You know what I mean?
That's a very good question. I've had bad food truck food, but then I'll just, and sometimes we'll have bad food truck here too, but then we just won't book them again.
Right.
So I have a little bit of a
They
theory.
don't get a return appearance. Yeah.
I have a little bit of theory on that, okay? I think the best food trucks are the ones that have a very limited menu, generally speaking. Like, they do a certain thing and they do it really well.
And you know what my food truck theory actually is that the key is in the sauce. Because whatever the sauce is that they're putting on the burger or the tacos or whatever it is that they're making, that's something that they can put together in advance. It doesn't have to necessarily be assembled in the truck. And that, I think, is where the secret is of all the flavor.
And just so you know, this is just about the time that particular cigar you're smoking is going to start picking up a burnt paper note.
This cigar I'm smoking right here?
Yes.
Oh, because it's getting close
Because
to
you're about to burn that paper.
Yeah, you know what? It does happen. So
That's just one of
sometimes
the-
I'm doing my review notes. Burnt paper note, and I go, oh, yeah, that's my fault.
I've done that before.
That's my fault. Hey, speaking of unusual things in your, in your favorite stuff, a New Hampshire distillery has unveiled a new whiskey with an unusual key ingredient. The ingredient is invasive green crabs. And no, you can't make this stuff up. Tamworth Distilling says, and look, I'm trying to peel this off, and it's, of course, only peeling off in
hold
layers.
on. Invasive green
Yeah.
crabs are somehow in the distillery.
Yeah,
Is
it
it?
doesn't sound like something you would want in your whiskey.
Is it affecting the water? What's going on? Like I'm a little confused by this.
So Tamworth Distilling says it has teamed up with the University of New Hampshire's NH Green Crab Project to develop a House of Tamworth Crab Trapper. That's the name of the whiskey, which is being billed as made with a bourbon base, steeped with a custom crab, corn, and spice blend mixture. So Stephen Grasse, the owner of Tamworth Distilling, said that the developers boiled more than 90 pounds of the tiny crabs into a crab stock, and it was then fortified with Tamworth-made neutral grain spirits and distilled on a rotary vacuum.
All right, we're going to have to reach out to them because that sounds horrific.
It has crab on the nose for certain, Grasse told Forbes. He said the taste is like, and I'm quoting here, a briny and better tasting Fireball. Now, I'm not a big fan of Fireball. And I don't know if being briny would make it better tasting. I do like crab, but I don't know if I want it in my whiskey.
I don't know if I
It's
want
not
to
a good descriptive.
I don't know if I want to drink crab. Like, I guess here in Texas, you don't have to worry too much about the crabs being everywhere, but you get like cicada maybe.
Yeah. Well, he does say
frogs.
He does say they're working to raise awareness of the problem, which is these invasive crabs, in a way that's fun and interesting. But it also shows through creativity and gumption, we can turn these pesky critters into a tasty treat. He says,
and try and knock them down a little bit.
We want more brave souls in the culinary arts to rise to the challenge, defeat the enemy by eating them. Tom, I just want to say, if anybody proposes like a Texas mosquito kolsch, send them away. Don't even try it.
Texas made with real Texas
made
mosquitoes.
real Texas mosquitoes, because those are a pest. They're a problem, but I don't want them in my beer. And as much as I enjoy, a good steamed crab, I'm not sure if I want it in my beer.
Yeah, I will tell you. Okay, so you brought up the mosquito thing. I'm going to point out one simple thing. Like, mosquitoes can get bad in Texas. I've never seen mosquitoes anything even close to what I've seen in Minnesota.
Oh, really?
Really?
Like, I have a brother that lives up there, and we were in the northern part, like north of Duluth, and we pulled into a truck stop, or not a truck stop, but what do you call it, rest area, just so I could use the restroom. We stopped the car, and the car had so many mosquitoes around it, I wouldn't get out of the car. Like, that's like when you can see the swarm of mosquitoes around your vehicle.
So,
and it made me appreciate how like, even when we have bad mosquitoes, they're not that bad.
Is Minnesota the land of 10,000 lakes,
Yes.
or whatever it is? So is that why the mosquitoes are so bad?
I have to think
lots
so.
of water from debris.
Now, it's not that we don't have our own bugs here, because all the bugs here want to bite you and sting you, and or are just like some kind of
giant cockroaches that
just
just exist.
giant, terrifying things.
There's a thing here called the tree cockroach that really is the size of a mouse, except it flies.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, and yeah, cockroaches that fly. Yeah, and then on top of that, if you go through the Natural Science Museum, you see the cockroach exhibit. There's actually a section dedicated to that cockroach. It is the second fastest running cockroach in the entire world. Like, that's why you look like an idiot when you're trying to go stomp one.
That's science, my friends. That's science.
Those things are crazy.
Now, there are clearly no mosquitoes in what you have brought us to taste here, but what you have brought us is a wonderful, like, tasty, tart and sweet kind of beer. What is this that we're drinking here?
This is our El Carlito. It is
It's a Weizenbach.
It's a Weizenbach.
I have to admit,
my God.
I don't know what a Weizenbach is.
We kind of, so we have a beer called El Jefe here.
Right.
Which,
by the way, is a wonderful Hefeweizen.
it is
Wonderful.
This essentially is, in theory, an Imperial Hefeweizen, even though those don't really exist. It's a high ABV hef, therefore a Weizenbach.
So I want to talk about your Hefeweizen for just a second. Your Hefeweizen, I'm not a big fan of Hefes in general. Like,
They're bready.
They're okay. They're kind of what they are.
Yeah.
And I'll drink them. They're fine because I'm not, I don't not like them. I just, that's not the one I reach for. But there are just very few Hefeweizens that I think are so top of the rock, and they're so good that it doesn't matter. And yours is on that list, and there's only like 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. And this is unbelievably good. Like, what have you done? This is crazy. I'm going to show this to the camera here. This is
this a new brew? Is this something I don't recall seeing this one before?
So we brewed this for the first time last year.
Okay.
Draft only, and then it sold out pretty quickly. So then we brought it back, put in a little package, and then we actually submitted it to a few beer festivals, as it were. We submitted it to the 2021 U.S. Open, which is also an international beer festival.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit smaller than the World Beer Cup.
Right.
And it won bronze there. And then we're like, all right, let's brew it again. And then we brewed it for the Texas Craft Brewers Guild, put on their first beer festival ever in January. So we brewed again for that, and then it also won bronze. And so it has those 2 awards on this label.
oh my God, I'm going to be taking some of that home.
You should.
It's really wonderful.
That is
now,
unbelievable.
I'm getting on almost like on like a very delayed finish. You get a little bit of that sort of banana Hefeweizen vibe, but up front it's almost more citrus, like a hazy IPA.
It's a very sessionable beer, although by session I do mean it's 8.3%. So
Very sessionable.
This is going to be my river beer this year.
it goes down very easy.
Yeah, a little too easy.
No,
See, I
yeah.
did that again, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is outstanding. Holy cow! It has kind of a, like, mouthfeel wise, it has a big kind of pulpy mouthfeel, like when you have like a really good fresh squeezed orange juice kind of thing. But it doesn't taste like that. That's not what I'm getting at. It has that feel though. It's really interesting.
Most of the vibes going on.
Yeah, very much.
Definitely.
Nice, good one.
You get a little bit of that sort of pineapple-y vibe. You get a little bit of the banana on the finish, and almost like a citrusy,
Like a melon kind of thing going on.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of different fruit flavors in this. Wow, that's very impressive. And I don't think I've ever had anything quite like it.
How would you describe this beer if you were selling it to us?
It's a back-to-back award-winning Hefeweizen with a bit of a punch that's perfect for a summer's day. Don't trust me, trust them.
Noted.
You know how I would describe it? Beer good.
It's good. Like, I can't stop drinking it now that I've started.
Yeah, that's
Again,
very
you guys have
impressive.
this awesome label on here. You have the El Jefe in the background, and who is this? Because you guys always do someone that actually works here in the front.
Yeah, so that is his that guy's name is Carlos. We call him El Carlito. And so he would drink a bunch of Hefeweizen, a bunch of El Jefe, and then we wanted to make a beer in his honor, so we're doing this high ABV Hefeweizen. And we're like, oh, it's the big boss. It's the big boss of beers. So we named after him El Carlito, and then it just started winning a whole bunch of awards.
So just so you know, when you're looking at a no label beer and you see people depicted on it, it is someone that they know or works
at the brewery,
here,
right?
yes.
Yeah, almost every one or thing it's related to like we even have a brewery with a cat on it, and the cat's actually one of my best friends.
I see the cat over there, the mind your own business.
But she doesn't want people to know that it's her, so it's mind your own business.
Who is on the El Jefe label? Who is that?
So originally that was pictured after the founder, Jennifer Arroyo, like just a badass chick that can carry her own weight. And so that pretty much still is essentially her spirit animal, as it were. Although she has a problem that Jennifer's blonde and the person on the label is not. But that I just like brunettes.
Can't blame me on that one. Well, it is interesting, though, because any of your, and like we mentioned earlier, you've got so many really cool and interesting labels. And what
I will buy the beer when you finally put out a beer that is just the plain silver can and just has the word beer on it, preferably written diagonally.
Sure, yeah, of course.
I will buy that if I saw it in the store.
I bought some of that way back in the day when generic products were becoming very popular, and it was just a can with white label and black lettering, and it said beer.
When I worked
It was god awful.
When I worked over at H&H Music, there was a student level brand of brass instruments called Jean Eric, and I always thought that was hilarious because that's literally, it was generic, but they were called Jean Eric.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I like it. Well,
this is so good.
So you said this came out last summer, taproom only.
This came out last summer, taproom only, and then it's still always been taproom.
Okay.
But but it came out draft, and then we put it in package, and we put it in package again, and then we just canned this last week, so this is pretty fresh.
Will this
Super
go
fresh.
out anywhere, or will it all only be available here at the
Not
brewery?
this time. So we just rebrewed this again just for GABF, which is coming up. All the beer has to leave the next month or so. So we rebrewed it for that, the Great American Beer Festival. That happens in Denver.
That's in Denver, yep.
But it will be back by the end of the year, and when it comes back that time, it will go out all across Texas.
How do you decide? Is there a number for you guys of the amount, the number of beers that you will make available to retail at one time, and how do you get to the right number, whatever that number is?
Yeah, well, every year we all sit down and we create a very detailed plan around September or so. Around August, start thinking about September. We start sitting around, actually drawing it up.
For what the next year will look like.
What,
right?
what the next year will look like, because it's you gotta bring basically kind of the things I want and don't want, and then what the people in operations want to do, what our sales thinks will work in the market. We go back and forth, and then finally we take this structured plan, we present it to HEB and our distributor, and
Sure.
they give their 2 cents. We finalize that plan again. We're like, boom, this is the plan for the year. And then by the time you hit the second week of January, something usually happens, and you're like, all right, throw that plan out.
Burn
You
that
have-
one. Let's
You have to be able to be that flexible, though, don't you?
Are you guys
it makes
running? You mentioned you guys were ramping up, making as much beer as you can. Are you guys running pretty much max right now?
We are
max capacity.
We are running at max capacity. We actually just bought 2 more tanks. So those.
Oh, so you're not only running max, but you're expanding.
We have to. We don't have a choice. In fact, I think we might have to run 2 more tanks. We might have to actually contract a few batches out of this brewery.
Gotcha.
Where we can't. Yeah, everyone wants the beer, and then the thing about grocery stores is once you get in cooler
Once
space,
you get that SKU,
you need to maintain it.
Yeah.
Right.
Like-
And if you can't,
maintain it, you
Yeah.
lose
You
it.
get
Then
bumped, yeah.
you gotta win it back again, and which you easily can. There's always openings everywhere, but everyone's concerned with consistency.
I'm a little surprised you say that because a lot of times, like people fighting for that SKU in a grocery store is a big deal.
well,
Like that's
I will just say, and this is a favorite saying of mine, Tom, these are the kinds of problems to have.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it
having
means
to
the
run
demand
max.
is there,
Yeah.
and that you've got the opportunity to stock those stores. And being in people might not understand, what a big deal it is because, I generally go to beer stores or liquor stores or a Specs or something like that to buy beer, but there is something about being available at a grocery store chain like a Kroger or an HEB. An HEB is kind of a Texas thing, but most states have their own version of that, whatever that is. Having your beer in there, there's something about it. I'm expecting Specs
Yeah.
to keep me up to speed with what all the cool and interesting beers are. But when I see you in HEB, I don't know. There's another level of respect. Like these guys are really breaking through, and I know that it's hard to even state what a big deal that is when I see Cali Boy sitting in my HEB.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's like you've become like you're still craft beer, local beer, but now you're on the beer aisle. You're in that one place where people are already picking up groceries for for the drive home. They're getting everything together, and then they can pick up some
like
No Labels.
if you were in a band, it'd be like hearing yourself on the radio a little bit.
Yeah,
You're like,
that's
"Ah,
a good comparison.
there you
Yeah,
go."
That's a good comparison. Well, my wife has this thing that she does because she loves me. When she goes and does the weekly grocery shopping at HEB, she always brings me home a mixed 6-pack of different beers that she's seeing maybe for the first time that she thinks I might like to try. Many of which have made their way onto the show, by the way. But it's always so exciting getting to see new beers and stuff and realizing this stuff was at HEB,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that was the first time I had Cali Boy was when she brought it home in one of those mixed 6-packs from HEB, and I was like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad recently retired, and he has this whole shtick now where he goes to like Specs or Total Wine, and he's like a big exploring all this craft beer now, and he's only discovered craft beer very late in life. But now it's like he's like, oh, what's this one? Where's this one from?
Right,
Like,
right.
what's their story?
What kind of
What's
hops
that?
are they using in this one?
Yeah,
exactly.
it's every day is a little like he has his regular beer that he has. He's a big like Busch Light type of, like type of guy, but he'll start off with one big beer, maybe two, and then he'll go down his regular path. But it's beer is exploration.
It is, and that's what it really has become more and more as craft has taken over. It's not just necessarily that people have found a craft beer that's become their new favorite that replaced, Bud Light or whatever they drank before. It's almost more that they've become part of this excited group of experimenters that loves trying all these new things. And I know that makes it a challenge for you guys because you've got to constantly be reinventing and coming out with new things while hoping that you have certain ones that will really
still
got to
have your core line,
become part of the core line.
Yeah, it's very strange, especially No Label. We're 11 and a half years old, about to turn 12 in November, and we've with a decade and two. With all these beers that we've released, well, people come up to us. It's like, hey, where did that one beer go? And I'm like, well, we stopped brewing it 5 years ago. And it's like, are you sure it was that long? It was like, yeah. It's like, well, everyone loved it. And I was just like, it's hard to say that like people just didn't love it enough, or
People didn't buy it.
If people had loved it enough, it would still be out, right?
Right, yeah. And the core, our core beers have changed over the years. Almost every core. The only core that's remained since like kind of year one to right now is El Jefe.
Yeah, El Jefe, I remember from like day one.
Like El Jefe just kind of remains the king. It's slowly getting eaten up. Like I look at the numbers. I look at now everything is what it used to be way ahead of everyone, but now 1980 and Gilly's and Cali Boy, they're all kind of like.
The question though then is, are the numbers of El Jefe going down, or are the other ones just surpassing it?
Oh, the other ones are just surpassing.
Yeah.
Like El
El
Jefe
Jefe
is not losing
so
its audience.
good. Yeah,
it's
it's so good.
So let me ask you this. Let's say you mentioned that, later this year, the El Carlito will be put out there to retail.
Yeah.
At what point do you decide, okay, the sales on this are strong enough that it's going to remain, it's going to be year-round, it's going to be part of the core line.
Yeah.
And when you do, does it replace something, or do you add another beer to your core line?
That's a tough one when you're fighting for SKUs, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Because then we have to maintain those SKUs, right? It's, we'll see. Cali Boy, when it came to market, it was a seasonal. It was just a one-off. It was doing really well here, and went there, and it was just like. But also, it's a mix of you believe in something, and sometimes that belief adds a little more pump to those numbers.
Right.
Where it's like if this just finds the right audience.
Well, I think about St. Arnold, for example. Alyssa was their sort of flagship IPA.
Yeah.
And then they came out with Art Car, and it was so successful for them that I'm not going to say it's replaced Alyssa. I think you can still get it. But I don't
still get Alyssa, but it's
see
back down.
I don't see a lot of it. I would almost seem like it has been replaced in the core line with Art Car. And so you have to wonder, would El Carlito bump something else out of the core line if it becomes massively successful, or
anything's possible. I mean, it's a delicious Weizenbock. Right now, I would say there's probably no need. I would just expand the line because we're at about 5 cores now. What's another 6?
And you're adding the 2 new tanks. So there's
we're adding 2 new tanks, so we're gonna try to hopefully get some breweries around town to ideally help us.
That's one of the cool things about the craft brew community is if you don't have the capacity to brew something, you can get someone to help you out with that. That you're talking about contract
brewing. Yeah, there's less money to be made for sure, but it's but when
it allows you to support that SKU though.
Yes, you can maintain the placement. Maybe this allows more innovation here in the tap room.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, we're at capacity right now, and usually we're pumping about 20-25 individual beers now. And now we have about half that, and I would like to get the key thing about well, any company, I guess, but I'm trying to keep my brewers happy. And my brewers, they like to innovate. They like to create the El Carlitos of the world and the Cali Boys. Yeah. And if they end up just making the same things, they're going to end up looking out the window being like, Well, what if I had?
It's not like that Budweiser documentary you watched where everyone's just trying to make the most Budweiser.
Yeah,
Like
right.
that's
King-
so bizarre.
King
to
of
me.
Beers.
Have you
I
seen
think
this
that
thing?
was called.
No.
Yeah, it's this whole.
I haven't watched it. He was
so
telling me about
it's
it.
on Amazon.
This
You
is,
have
how
Amazon
bizarre
Prime.
is this, right?
And I believe it's called King of Beers, if I'm remembering the title right. And you have to watch it because it's this whole documentary about inside Anheuser-Busch. They have, different breweries around the world, right,
Sure.
that make Budweiser. And they have an internal competition every year where the brewmasters and their staffs work to produce the most Budweiser that they can.
So are these like the Carbox of the world?
No, this is
No,
actual
this is
Budweiser.
Budweiser.
This is the
Oh, wow.
Budweiser branch of the Anheuser-Busch Brewing Company, and it's the brewmasters who brew Budweiser. And it's an internal competition. So you've got St. Louis competing with Houston, competing with London or wherever there are other breweries are around the world, with Canada, and they all come together for this competition where they're trying to
brew
produce
Budweiser.
the most authentic Budweiser that they can. And it's this huge, they take this just as seriously, getting a win at this, as you did with the World Beer Cup.
yeah.
It's a big deal, and they are revered inside the company. And the only thing I could think while I was watching it was, I've had Budweiser. I know what Budweiser tastes like. Why don't these guys focus on making the best beer they could brew instead of making the most Budweiser that they could brew? And it's a fascinating thing to watch. You would enjoy the documentary.
It's interesting.
It's a
Amazon.
little ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's a
King
little,
of Beers on Amazon.
It's a little ridiculous on top of
But
that.
I'm going to make a prediction. I believe wholeheartedly that this will become part of your core line.
I'm gonna make
I
a
think
prediction that I'm gonna drink a lot of this.
Perfect.
And I can tell you, I think my prediction's good, but Ian's probably has about a 100% chance of coming
I'm gonna
through.
try to drink enough of this to make sure it becomes core line. Like if I can do that
I believe in you.
challenge,
Accepted.
I believe in you.
All right, we are going to take a break. When we come back, it's drinking news time. And I don't know if you're holding on into anything that you think is going to top this, but I'd be interested to see what that
I'll
was.
check what's back there.
Okay, well, we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toast. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are on location today at No Label Brewing in Katy, Texas. We're on show number 287, and our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, of which Ian has just lit a new one, and you are in its thrall, so to speak.
The Gloria Cabana Siri Armaduro.
It's one of your
This-
all-time faves, isn't it?
Absolutely, this thing is so good, like just 100%.
You
delicious.
actually let me take a nice whiff of the pre-light on there. You want to talk about a chocolate bomb?
It is
just
an
before
absolute,
it's even lit.
There's a sweetness it leaves on the lips too, and it's not a sweet cigar, but it's not a like sweet tip cigar or anything, but it leaves a sweetness on the lips. It's just
Sweet in the Maduro
absolutely,
sense.
yeah, absolutely remarkable.
Well, that is a wonderful thing. You enjoy that, but you're going to have to put it down for a moment because it's time for you to accompany me on the intro to Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Now, I know it was a little hard for you to hear it, but it went into the microphone. That was the Geico Gecko saying, I had to take my gator to the vet. Or at least a reasonable facsimile thereof. Drinking News is our segment on the program, which has become to be unexplainably popular. I don't know. I don't have an explanation for it. If I did, you probably wouldn't believe me. But it has become popular, and it is the segment of the program where we bring you a story from the news somewhere that is at least purported to be true. These are not stories from The Onion. They're not meant as parody. But they are stories that are sometimes about drinking.
A story that sometimes takes you back to the glory days of yore in the 80s before, things like safety were invented. You know.
And they're not always about drinking, but they are always stories that are probably best consumed if you have been drinking. So I'm going to take a little sip of this Don Jalapeno.
There we go.
Don Jalapeno, you guys have had this in your line for a long
baby.
time.
But now our peppers are sourced and smoked by the Blood Brothers.
I was just about to say, it's got a real smokiness to it.
That's
I don't know.
different. That's
Yeah.
way different than it used to be.
Very.
Digging it.
So
That's-
Blood Brothers Barbecue, they're on Texas
And your
Monthly's.
label's way different than it used to be.
Absolutely. Texas Monthly's top 50 barbecue places in Texas. They're good friends of ours. They smoke the peppers, and we do a nice hand-to-hand and throw it in our boil. And
I'm just going to say it. I'm not normally a big fan of beers that have pepper heat.
yes,
I usually like my food hot and my beer nice and cold to wash it down. But this is probably my favorite peppered beer I've ever had.
All right. So I have a little story about Don Jalapeno. You guys came out with it years ago.
yes.
And I bought a 6-pack of it because no label. You know,
Sure.
I'll just buy it. And I bought a 6-pack of it, and I poured
That
it.
goes for you guys out there, too.
Yeah. Remember, no label. Buy it.
And I bought the 6-pack, and I got it home, and my wife likes drinks with spice in them. I don't generally like drinks with spice in them, like spice, like heat spice.
Sure.
I love, like, you almost can't make it too hot for me to eat. Like, I'm not up for a challenge on that, but I like very spicy things, so don't ask me if it's spicy or not, because sometimes it doesn't even register as spicy to me. But I drank some of the beer, and I thought, it's okay. And my wife was like, nah, it's okay. And then we used it to make brats, and it was amazing. Some of the most amazing brats I think I've ever made. Now, let's fast forward to now, because this is the next time I've tried it since then. This is very different from what I remember. Very.
So
Very good.
Don actually died of death. Long story short, they stopped making Don. It became What the Hatch for a few years.
I remember What the Hatch, yes.
And then it was just kind of, it was labor intensive because everyone was cutting the peppers up on this, and whenever you would see it happen over here, it was like grown men dying.
Right.
It was
Cutting
just
up the
like-
peppers, yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally.
And then they stopped it for a few years, and then we're partners with the Blood Brothers Barbecue. Myself and the other owner of No Label, we have a very small stake in the business. We're essentially just around for the brisket, but
That's all right.
it's perfectly fine.
Nothing wrong with that.
But when they were launching and we were coming into this, we were like, we got to find a way to partner on something. But what the hell is it? And that's when Kui, the pitmaster over there, he was like, I was a real big fan of Don Jalapeno from years back. We should bring it back. But if we bring it back, we need to do the peppers and all the stuff in-house over here. Do it my way, and so between that and then also the Cali boy himself putting his 2 cents on it, you have a pretty sessionable
No
pepper
kidding.
beer.
Like,
No
wow,
kidding.
what a difference. Like, that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that is delightful, actually.
Like
It
it's
really
not gonna,
is.
It's not going to screw up your day.
Right.
you
Absolutely.
mentioned brisket earlier. Brisket. Like you used to get back on the farm when you'd be outside and you'd think, whatever happened to Bessie? And Grandpa would be like, hey, we have this delicious brisket for dinner tonight. I'm sorry. We were doing drinking news.
We were, but I just wanted to mention before we get back to
a
it
PTSD
that
flashback.
I'm pretty sure I just saw the guy from the El Carlito can walk by. Was that him? I think he just walked into the brewery. Yeah, I'm like, dude, you're a celebrity. You're on the El Carlito can. But he was walking. He was very cool. Like you could tell, he just had that aura about him. Like, yeah, I'm on the can. I'm on the can. All right, should we do the theme song over again, just to get back into the drinking news vibe here?
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news, drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
Hang on a second. I turned my phone off accidentally. Here we
That's
go.
not what he said. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Hey, at least you know the show is live, right?
You
It's not overdubbed.
We run such a tight schedule on this show.
Yeah, we do. We do indeed. We're enjoying beers and No Label and smoking cigars. So
And I just have my microphone jammed into the table so
I know
can
it works perfectly.
do this without hands.
As usual this week, news coverage is bursting at the seams with the exploits of Florida Man. A Florida man was arrested for impersonating a police officer so he could get the policeman's discount on his double with cheese at Wendy's. Or there's the story of a Florida man who was arrested for chasing 3 kids through the neighborhood with a machete, who said he was, quote, just trying to scare them, end quote. Nice work. Or the Florida man who intentionally rammed his car into a state trooper's vehicle because he wanted to go to jail and told police he, quote, felt like he was already in jail, end quote. Sounds as if he must be dating my ex-wife.
A Florida man.
But our story today takes us across the pond to the UK instead of Florida, where a 21-year-old driver was arrested for a multitude of offenses. The fiasco began after officers attempted to pull over an Audi A7 they had observed maneuvering recklessly all over the road near Bexley. The driver, however, refused to pull over, resulting in a 35-mile chase that took them from southeast London all the way to Kent. They were even forced to call in a police helicopter to aid in the pursuit.
Now, see, I just want to point out some of the differences. If you were in Texas, if you were in Houston, a 30-mile chase would take you from Houston to Houston.
That's exactly right. Whereas in London, in England, you're halfway across the country. You're from London to Kent. But eventually the police did policeman did catch up with the man in Minster, Kent, after he ran out of gas, and they subsequently found a large stash of marijuana in his car. But the officers shared in a tweet what the absolute best part of the story was, which was when they asked for his license, the man happily produced it. The only problem, apparently, was that his driver's license had been issued to him by Legoland, a theme park he had visited as a kid in 2013. Now,
This is good enough.
you'll see the photo.
It's
there
got a
if you're
photo.
watching the video of the show. We've been able to confirm that Legoland gives this license to kids who pass the theme park's driving test, which entails using a brick-built electric car to navigate traffic lights, roundabouts, Lego policemen, and even a speed camera, according to the Legoland website. Now, since the policemen who pulled him over were not made of interlocking plastic bricks, they arrested him and took him to jail. What's kind of mind-boggling about this is that apparently the man had kept this Legoland license in his wallet for years, since he was a little kid. And who knows what he actually did get away with by flashing it. You know, maybe he used it to drink at that bar called Lincoln Logs, or used it to buy weapons at the G.I. Joe munitions store. You never know, right? The fact is, there are much better fake IDs available. There's actually a website, and I am not kidding, called idtop.is that advertises 3-day express service shipping on, quote, premium fake IDs, end quote. You don't even have to drive a car made of Legos and pass a test to get one. Although, driving a Lego car does sound kind of cool. I might have to put that on the bucket list.
Back when in my early 20s, we had a friend of ours who forgot her driver's license. I don't know how if you got a purse, for one, how do you forget your driver's license?
Yeah.
If you don't forget your purse, right? But for two, the only license she had was a Houston Grand Prix driver's license.
It's the same kind of thing, except not made of Legos.
Which was a little go-kart place. And
Yep.
I remember a few clubs letting her in on that alone.
See, there you go. Not only would I love to drive the Lego car, because that does sound kind of cool, right? I'd also love to, not stop there. I'd love to fly that awesome Lego plane that Lego Batman zooms around in the Lego movie. I could be a way more convincing Batman than Ben Affleck. I'll tell you that much. Anyway, the man was released on bail, and his Legoland license has been confiscated until further notice. Now all that's left in his wallet is a debit card, a Monopoly get-out-of-jail-free card, which apparently did not work, a My Little Pony equestrian license from 2009, and an unused condom, which is well past its expiration date.
Do you remember in what was the Big Lebowski when he's like, the only ID you have is a Ralph's card?
Seriously, if that's not the greatest movie of all time, it is totally in the top 5.
It's pretty amazing.
Totally in the top 5.
It was a classic the instant it came out.
It
right?
really
There's
was.
nothing quite
It really
like
was.
it.
And Jeff Bridges, by the way, is the man. He is the man. Reporting from Legoland, where I am really suspicious about getting on the Lego coaster, a high-speed ride made completely of interlocking bricks. My name is Cruz, and that, my friends, is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Thank you. See, that segment just wouldn't be the same without the ukulele. I just have to say.
Yeah, it needs a ukulele.
The ukulele is what it needs, what it is, what it was, and what it shall be.
The ukulele has a built-in amount of comedy to it.
It
or
does.
comedic value just because it's so tiny.
Yeah, and because it has that unique sound.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
it has that sound.
Yeah, it's really good. Speaking of really good, I've taken a couple of sips of this, and I have to tell you, I'm not a fan of ginger. When I have sushi, I put the ginger to the side.
Oh, I like the ginger.
But this is not. There's not so much ginger here that it puts me off from this beer. It's actually quite tasty.
Yeah, this is our ginger sour Goza. It's also great summertime beer, but it's good for cleansing the palate and kind of getting off the El Carlito roller coaster, as it were.
Right, yeah. And what a lovely coaster it is.
What's the ABV on this one?
This is just around 5.5%.
Yeah, Gozas are usually fairly sessionable.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised because a lot of them are even under 5. That's particularly good. I like
it is.
I like Gozas. I like sour beers.
Tell me again what this is called.
It's called Ginger Ninja.
Ginger
Ninja.
Ninja.
We call it
good.
Ginger in short.
Ginger.
The label's way off on the end. It kind of,
Okay,
you can
yeah.
see, it's a bunch of red marks. But yeah, it's we brewed this last year, and
What inspired this beer?
we were just making Gozas. We had a mojito lime Goza that did very well.
Mm-hmm.
Then we made a ginger Goza, and then the ginger Goza we thought it wasn't going to be as big as it was. But this is one of those things that
You just never know.
yeah, you never know. And then everyone just kept on drinking it and ordering it. And then I was like, I guess we're doing this again. And then it was like, we'll push it into the market. And then it was like, okay, we'll push it into the market, but we just need to fill a SKU. Nothing's going on. And then it was like, oh, they all want more of it. Oh no,
Ginger Goza.
so
My
ginger
friends,
Goza.
that's no. It's really refreshing though.
Yeah, no,
It's
it is.
just
From
got-
its humble beginnings.
and another really good beer for hot days and summertime too, because it's got such a light, refreshing vibe to it.
Yeah, I mean, and all the beers we've had today are all different styles.
This comes across, when you get a really good ginger ale kind of thing that's not too sweet, because a lot of the better ginger ales, we're going to wait till people walk right by the camera there. All right? A lot of good ginger ales
Yeah.
come out with a lot of sweetness, that kind of thing. If you find one that's very dry and very not sweet, this comes out like that, but with the added bonus of beer.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure.
And
Exactly.
a little bit of sour, which is just fantastic.
A ginger ale can be very refreshing. This is just as refreshing, but it's beer.
But it's beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's available in stores right now, so you can go and get
Is this
it.
a seasonal?
This is a seasonal, yeah, but HEBs, Total Wine, Specs, Kroger's, anywhere that sells beer, you can probably go get it.
Translate
really
that to your local area, because like Kroger becomes a bunch of different other grocery stores that'll have the same. Yeah.
Stop and shop.
Oh,
as
but
we
if
used
you're
to
in
say when I was in Boston,
Stop and Shop.
stop and shop.
If you're here in Houston, Texas, just go to your local HEB or Kroger, Total Wine, Specs.
When I was in Boston, it was Stop and Shop and Star Market,
Star Market.
and we would park our car by the harbour.
You know, and it's funny because it's so lightly sour that it has no problem going along with the cigar, which also, by the way,
it doesn't combat the cigar at all.
The ginger and the chocolate of the cigar are so nice together, and it brings out a little more cedar in the cigar.
What beers tend to combat cigars in a negative way?
IPAs.
Well, IPAs
Oh, yeah,
do,
really,
and I'm IPA is my favorite style of beer, and I love smoking cigars with beer. But there are a number of IPAs that I love on a certain level that I just can't have a cigar with them.
They're just dueling each other.
Yeah, they do. They fight with each other.
Flavors don't mesh.
Now,
at all.
I will say, rye whiskey and IPAs go together very well.
Yes, they do.
So those things can, as Ian likes to say, they can form like Voltron.
Yes.
Yeah, and they can really work
But
together.
having
well.
sours are one of those funny things where there's certain sours that will go with a cigar, and certain ones that
Certain
just
ones that don't. Yeah, this one
absolutely
does.
won't. This one, that ginger in there is so light and snappy, and it's got such a good like beer and malty kind of thing going on, and a little bit of sour beyond that. But it really brings out the chocolate and cedar in this cigar, which are so prevalent to begin with, but it really brings it out and takes it kind of to another level.
You know, I will say I really love Gozas. I should drink them more often than I do. But to me, that kind of sour appeals to me more than a more traditional, sour beer.
Sure.
I can enjoy a good sour. Don't get me wrong, but I find that Gozas are just more palatable to me. They're easier for me to handle, I guess, is a good way to say it.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp.
Yeah, again, a good sour can be a wonderful thing, but those are beers of which I generally will want only one.
Yes.
Whereas a Goza, I can go, this was good, I'll have another.
Well, this is not a heavy sour kind of Goza thing either. It's like St. Arnold had their Boilermaker, which was just such a
boiler
pleasant,
room.
a boiler room, not Boilermaker. Sorry, that's a drink. Which was just such a pleasant sour, but this is like that with an extra kick of, like, you got a little ginger in there, a little extra interest. It's really, really fun.
Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah, but I'm totally typically with sours, like if I go to Jester King or something, I can have maybe one or two, and then I'm kind of done scheming. Like my palate, my taste buds has just been blasted, and I'm like I can do no more.
Like Petrus used to sell a 6-pack of different sours that you could kind of blend to your own sour. Did you ever get one of those before?
No.
So Petrus makes like very sour beers,
Very much so.
and that was a lot of fun. But that's not like cigar smoking material right there. That's like you're gonna enjoy it by itself, and almost nothing unless you're having like rhubarb pie. It's not gonna go with it, you know.
That's what I love about
Ooh, a rhubarb sour.
about beer in general. I mean, there's there's 60 to 70 breweries in Houston, and everyone's attempting all these styles. Some of them cross over, some of them don't. But all those beers are completely different.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and what's great about the diversity of styles that you find in craft beer today is that everybody can find something that totally works for them. You know, I'm more of an IPA guy. Ian loves stouts and porters, and he's a barley wine guy. And I enjoy all of those things, but still my favorite, my go-to is always going to be a really tasty IPA. But that's what's great about beer. Whatever it is that really fits your palate the best, you can find wonderful examples of that in craft beer these days. Even if you like the taste of macro brews, we can find you a lager that will kick Budweiser's ass.
Sure.
You know?
Oh, all day long.
Yeah, and will just give you so much better flavor and so much more enjoyment while still being just as palatable and easy to drink.
And you know what? You can still keep that Budweiser mirror on your wall while you drink it. It's
Right,
okay.
It's okay. Yeah, you can still have your Spuds McKenzie towel that you dry yourself off of when you get out of the pool.
I just want to point out, I did mention rhubarb sour at some point. So if you mention that to your, brewmaster.
Okay.
Never steal another man's rhubarb. That's a saying I heard one time. I don't know what it even means, but I thought I'd throw it in.
What movie is that from?
I don't remember.
My mom used to.
Something,
It's
though.
from something.
Yeah.
My mom used to grow
It's
rhubarb.
Jack Nicholson and the Joker and the Batman.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
I think it may be. Yes,
Yes.
from the from the original and still the best Batman, the Tim Burton Batman.
There you go.
with
My
Michael
mom
Keaton.
used to grow rhubarb in the backyard, and I used to break the stalks off and just chew on them, and she would get so mad at me because she didn't have enough to make a pie. But I just want to point out rhubarb sour.
All right.
I'm not
rhubarb
saying,
it
I'm
is.
just saying.
Yes, Doug. Well, see?
All right, we got another one.
Yeah, you got another one. See,
That was the goal.
That's the way it works. One at a time, one drinker at a time. Well, you guys, honestly, you've done so great, and we're going to take a break and come back with our sort of goodbye and closing segment. But you guys have done so great. We're so proud to be, represented by you guys and other breweries as well, but particularly what you guys have done, your awards. You're just absolutely amazing beers. It's so awesome to be able to say, I'm from Houston, and we have No Label.
Yeah.
We have these guys who are actually continuing to innovate and do wonderful creative things. And you guys are not as off the wall as some of the breweries that are out there, and some of those off the wall breweries are wonderful. Ingenious is that comes to mind. But what you do is such a I think such a sort of a mainstream craft beer experimentation is the best way I could that I can find to say it. You continue to push the limits of what the mainstream of craft beer is, and I just think that's absolutely wonderful.
Well, thank you very much. Also, first time we came on here was around year 10. It was like right after we survived the year of COVID, but which isn't shortly after we took over the company.
Right.
So, and then so it's been about 2 years now, and you kind of have seen the ride and kind of everything starting to pay off. So,
well,
thanks for being along for the journey.
Hats off to you. And speaking of which, I wear my No Label hat you brought us all the time. That's one of my favorite
I have to
caps.
put mine in a washer because it has that salt ring around it now.
That happens in
I
Texas.
have to do that, yeah.
That happens in Texas. All right, we're going to be back to say goodbye. This has been a very, very fun edition of the program, show number 287. What did you say, 5/8 of the way?
5/8 of the way to 300.
Yeah, and we'll be right back. It's Smoking
Trust
and
me,
Toasting.
math works out.
I'm
went
going
to
to leave
school in Liberty. I know what I'm talking about.
all the math to you. Smoking and toasting, my friends. Craft beer, fine spirits, hand-rolled cigars on
Those are
location
such good things.
at No Label Brewing in Katy, Texas. And what a fun show this has been.
So good, so good.
And, not like the beers had a lot to do with it, but we've had some great stuff today. I can already tell you I'm a big El Carlito fan. That is a
Can we just finish this show so I can go
fantastic-
get some more of that?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're about to do. But love the Ginger Ninja. In fact, everything we've had has been good. I feel like, though, even though it's summer, we're kind of staying a little bit on the lighter side. We should talk about your love for was it which beer was it? that you were
Perpetual
talking about?
Peace.
Yes,
Yeah, you didn't bring any of that out
absolutely.
today, but I'm going to take some of that home too.
Yeah.
So
so
I might
let's
have
talk,
a can in the back.
Let's
Wait,
talk a little bit about what you were saying to me before the show about that beer.
Oh, when I was here last time, you guys had the Perpetual Peace on bourbon barrels.
well, you came out for an anniversary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, and
that
by the
was
way,
a blast.
You've got some barrels sitting in there that are visible. I think Doug took some shots of that.
Oh, on the
that we'll
back
put
wall
up.
here.
What do you have cooking inside those?
Mainly Perpetual Peace, some new surprises, but that'll all be ready come this November.
So
for
the next time I hang out, I'll just bring a
12.
drill.
Well, I think it's around the next time that we should probably do a show, probably right around the year 12 anniversary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm
Right,
down.
right when we tap those barrels.
I'm down.
I'm just
down.
bringing a drill.
Oh, actually, that would be a lot of fun. We could bring it out here for the barrel tastings.
So,
Oh,
let's
that
just
would
say,
be amazing.
If we can title a show "Tapping the Barrels," that's a winner of a show.
Bashing the bungholes.
Yeah. Well, that may be your thing. I don't know.
Bashing the bung holes. Well, it is Pride Month. But no, but we do tap the barrels, and then the problem always with tapping the barrels is like you just never know what you're gonna get. So a barrel might become infected. A barrel might not be. So we actually
So some of the barrels may be great. Some of them may not be so good, right?
and so we basically get a group of people, and so you guys can join this group. You guys come out here, and then basically we get little of these tasters, and we get we do every barrel. So we just a little bit, and then we just score it, what we think. And the afternoon just slowly goes sideways, very slowly.
I love it. Count me in. I'm down with that. That's awesome.
Pretty soon you're like, but you didn't even pour me any. You've had 6 of those. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So perpetual peace, though, you were saying before the
So I came out for that, and it was so much fun. Like, first off, you were such an amazing host. Like, I told you I was out here, and you came out, and you introduced me to a bunch of your friends. So that's when I got to meet a bunch of other people over here.
James Simpson, John Denman.
Yeah. John Denman joined me on a show shortly after that, and then Val from Val and Sons.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other people. We all sat around that table over there where the camera's sitting right there. And just enjoyed tons of beer, but I ended up buying a bomber of your perpetual peace barrel aged, and I saved it. And when I had some friends over to the house, I was like, "Hey, I got this," and I cracked it open, and everyone was like, "I don't know, I want to drink something more sessionable." So I drank it myself, and it put me in a different place than everybody else was in.
Sure, it had to.
But it was a wonderful place, right?
That was okay, because what was that? That thing was like somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 or 12% at that point.
It is somewhere between 12.3 and 14. It's just kind of it's hard to gauge.
Yeah,
Yeah, life is
oh
good.
My God. And you know what? I had to drink the whole thing myself. I was a committed man. I said, you know what? I don't have commitment issues on this. I will actually.
Ian's the kind of
drink
guy
the
that
whole
will
thing.
finish what he started.
Well, I as I was telling you before, if you drink an entire bomber or 2 cans of perpetual peace, it's definitely either gonna get you in a relationship or take you out of one. I mean, there's really.
Well, that really, at the end of the day, that is what it's all about.
So good. Your perpetual peace is one of my absolute favorite beers out there, and whenever I see it in the store, and I don't see it all that often, but whenever I see it in the store, I usually snap it up.
I see a sign on the wall that says No Label Brewing Company 10 years. Are you past 10 yet? How long has No Label been around now?
So it'll be 12 years this November.
Okay.
It'll be 12 years this November. So, in perpetual peace, it used to just come out sometime around Christmas, but now when we took it over, we just kind of, because perpetual peace is kind of our best beer, as it were. I mean, Cali Boy, I guess technically is our best beer, but
it's your most brew master.
It's
favorite.
consistent. Everyone likes it. It only comes in a short period of time, and there's something special about it because we put it in
pièce de résistance.
We put it in barrels like 2 weeks ago, and now they just sit. They sit and we wait, and we take them out of the barrels the week of the anniversary.
Those barrels are expanding right now because it's freaking hot.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing. We are in. They aren't exactly climate controlled either, right? So
No.
So every year it's a little different. I mean, last year's did win a medal at Texas Craft Brewers Cup, and it just won a medal at the Fredericksburg Craft Beer Festival. But yeah, I mean, who knows what comes out of those barrels, or like if it sours, if it doesn't sour. Only time will tell. But that's almost the joy of just barrel aging in general.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It is
The big question mark.
It is the wonderful sort of chef-like experimentation that happens with those kind of beers, and it's a thing to be celebrated. That's what I would say. Ian, I'm going to pour you a little of mine so we can say goodbye here.
Sorry, I just drank mine down.
You just topped yours off. But I want to thank everybody for being here for a part of show number 287. We are drawing closer to show number 300, and as we get closer, we'll start to...
We're 5/8 of the way, so
yeah,
I think by the time we get to 290, we'll be 7/8 of the way.
That sounds about right to me.
That seems like a little bit of a leap, but I've done the
Again,
math.
I leave the math to you.
What happens at episode 300?
Well, so... We're gonna do.
It's just like when the gatekeeper meets the keymaster.
It's very, very much like that. Yes.
Wait for it.
I
Here it
love
goes.
the reference. No, what we do. What we did this with the 100th show, and the 200th happened in the middle of lockdown COVID, so we didn't really do a celebratory 200th show.
We just
But
kind of
for-
went woo and popped a popper.
Right.
And that was it.
But for 300, we'll do what we did for 100 again, which we'll gather at a special place. I think we're going to be at the New Potato, right?
Yeah, we're talking about it with Paul over there, and he'll let us borrow his entire backyard.
Oh,
So-
you know Paul.
I
Yes.
love Paul.
Oh yes, Paul's the man.
There's a whole after show that's about to happen.
Okay. All right. We'll get into that, and you can find it in the bonus material here for Smoking and Toasting. But the plan will be that we will invite everyone who has ever been a guest on Smoking and Toasting from show number 1 all the way to 300. And not everyone will make it, but a lot of people will. They'll bring with them bottles and cans and cigars, and we will have a free-for-all. Show number 100 was almost 4 hours long.
Oh, wow.
That's how long it took to just let everybody kind of say their piece, and we got into
We
some
had a
really amazing
blast.
discussions, and everyone Ubered home.
There is never a bad time at the New Potato. So it's a perfect spot for it.
I love the New Potato. I love Paul to death. So
Well, thank you so much for having us out here at the brewery. It is a wonderful space. We want to encourage everyone in this area to come and spend some time here because not only is the beer amazing, but it's got a great vibe. It's very laid back. It's got plenty of space.
And
you can still be socially distanced.
And if you're passing through Katy, or even if you're shopping at the big ass mall over here, it is minutes. And it's easy to find. It is right off 90.
Yeah, once you
Super
exit
easy to
I-10
find.
Katy Mills, it's 2 minutes from.
Yeah,
like,
you
to get
take
here.
a right, you take another right, and you're there.
And it's one hell of a detour.
Thank
Yeah,
you
it's
for
great.
representing our city and winning us a big medal and bringing it home. That's a big deal. And we continue to be incredibly impressed by your beers. We continue to be big fans, and we hope you'll have us back as many times as you want.
Absolutely, the anniversary's coming around the corner. More
sounds
perpetual
good.
peace. Cheers to you guys.
Let's tap some kegs, and thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen, from Smoking and Toasting. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.